Word on the Street, a working title for church social action in Barrow. Here we have a video that was first broadcast by BBC Newsnight on the 30th of March 2016.
You want to know what it's like to be homeless? It's lonely, cold and hopeless. On a day-to-day basis, I'm surrounded by crackheads, drunks and roamers. It's not like I want to be involved, but it's a road I found myself on. Like many people on this road, their lives are so complex and built around stress, it's probably the reason we're all in this mess. See, we can't even sleep at night, and we don't even control the lights. And when it's windy and blistering cold in the darkest of November's nights, your only wish is to feel warm inside. A luxury we all miss, like a sweet kiss.
I split with my wife, so I lived on the barge. My barge caught fire. I lost everything. I ended up with what I was wearing and £26 in my pocket. So the key worker told me I'm going to be on the streets for 6 months. After that 6 months, the council could still take 2 to 3 years to house me. But up until recently, Bristol only ever admitted to 7 homeless people. Now they've brought it up to 97, nowhere near close. 196 in Bristol, lost sleepers. And it's probably gone over the 200 mark now.
I was a bus and coach driver, but I did that through an agency, so my work was sporadic. I couldn't afford to live in London, so I decided to come down to Bristol and join the same agency there. But they said to me they couldn't help me until I'd had the Bristol address. So that meant no work and no address, and I couldn't get either without the other.
The toilets for me would be half an hour down that way to Gordano services. As to getting wet, I try not to, but if I do, I stay in the tent, in my sleeping bag, and just basically let them dry me out.
We've been homeless for 7.5 months, in the town centre to start with, but I was very anxious at night time and I couldn't really sleep. Always slept with one eye open. We were in a little 2-man tent to start with, and then somebody donated this tent. It certainly beats shop doorways. There's no government aid. If it wasn't for the general public, we'd be knackered.
I take my bags everywhere. I have to, I've got nowhere to put it. You know, if I find a job, I actually have to take all of my luggage to my job with me, which isn't viable. I can't do that. You know, as well as that, I've got to carry my dirty stuff with my clean stuff, find somewhere to wash it, dry it, put it all back into the same place. It's really tiring. My feet look crazy right now, you know, they're tired from months of walking, not wearing proper shoes. But I can't help that, I can't afford shoes. My parents told me, ignore homeless people on the streets because they obviously decline the help. But I could never really accept that. And now seeing it firsthand and meeting other people, all different age groups, ethnicities, genders, everyone's having the same problem. Like nobody has any other options. We're handing over our fate and someone else is in control of our lives.
Basically, it's a problem for our Manchester homeless, and all of us are local, but if you haven't got a local connection, they won't house you. You're not a priority. They give you shelters, but we only give you shelters for so long, and then they kick you out again, so you're back home homeless again. It's just getting worse, it's never getting better.
Been living like this for a year, and I'm sick of it. I want off the street. It's my own fault because I walked out of my job, but I walked out because I couldn't cope anymore. I don't take drugs, I don't do whatever, I read books. On average I read about 3 novels a week. To escape from the reality of what I'm living in, man. People ask me, how am I tell them I'm living the dream. I just don't know whose dream I'm living. It ain't mine. But I just get on with it. It's a waiting game, that's all it is.
So you've been introduced to Jane from Manchester, Carl from Bristol, Kieran from Manchester, Jamie from Manchester, Edward from London, Michael from Bristol. I want to introduce you now to Bobby from Barrow. Now, Bobby lives on our streets, and I'm going to read you now something that was written by a church member who's interacting with Bobby, and this is what they have to say. This is Bobby, who is homeless and has been living in a doorway. I've got to know him over several days, spending a considerable time talking to him. Bobby is polite and articulate. He really wants to help himself. This is difficult to do from the street. He told me a night shelter would be fantastic. He was arrested trying to break into a derelict pub. He just wanted to be warm and dry. He became homeless due to a relationship breakdown. All Bobby wants is respect, socks, some warm clothes, and to get off the street. He was so grateful for the little things I was able to do. I told him about the church initiative that we've had and how watching the homeless video touched me, especially the phrase, "Will you cast the first stone?" It brought me to him. Bobby loves books, and that's the only thing he has asked of me. The photo is of him showing me how to make a bed when homeless. If you look closely, there's Bobby. He is on our streets. Does he remind you of anyone? Does he look familiar at all? If you look close, does he look like Jesus? Currently there's about 16 rough sleepers in the Barrow area. Some try to get enough money during the day to get a bed overnight. Pneumonia is an ever-present problem. So what can we do for the least of these? Well, how about a winter night shelter? It would open every day between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. In the winter months. It will be managed by a referral system as we partner with other agencies. Each client is given their own personal kit bag, and they're kept and maintained by the shelter. Inside the kit bags, a pillow, a sleeping bag, a bedroll, a soap bag, and a towel. And the shelter provides some simple food, and if we go ahead with this, we'd limit the number of clients in the first year as we find our way forward. Well, how do we make it viable? Well, there would be a minimum number of partners that we would need. The greater the number of partners, churches, stroke organisations, the easier it becomes to sustain the project, but it becomes more complex to manage. The level of complexity and management is addressed later on in this presentation. Each partner would need to meet the following requirements. They would need to appoint a local person to represent their particular venue. There'd need to be appropriate space, heating and toilet facilities, a place to prepare food, and of course people to do the work, and transport for moving the kit bags from their venue to the next day's venue. How about some detail? Well, ecclesiastical insurance already geared up to provide the necessary cover, and the cost is absolutely minimal. The partners would receive a pro forma risk assessment form along with a document pack for emergency procedures, health and safety protocols and that kind of stuff. Partners would undertake their own DBS checks, but we would centralise training for first aid and night shelter volunteers. Well, how would this thing be structured? Well, potentially it could look like this. You see, money isn't going to be the issue. People will be the issue. It doesn't have to be church people, and this would present an opportunity for the church to dialogue and to be in partnership with other agencies and organisations. The biggest issue will be, do we have a will to make it happen? That will be the biggest issue. What you're going to see next is a video put together by the Canadian Police. It was a recruiting video. The child in the video is an actor. The people around him, however, are not. See if you can spot the guy that takes a sneaky picture with his phone of the boy eating out of the bin and then the man taking the picture just walks away. They cared enough, do we?